My name is Joe Anderson, and I'm a utility forester at JEA and a member of the Florida Urban Forestry Council, and I work within an urban forest. There are many things to consider and many stories to tell about the urban forest. Let's start with a short little story about a little girl in a little wooded lot and a big old frog. Once, in a nearby neighborhood, there was a girl who strolled along a wooded area adjacent to her backyard. It was a special place, a familiar place, an enchanted place. But on this day, she heard somebody call her name. She looked around and she didn't see anybody, but somebody called her name again. She looked down and she saw a frog, a talking frog. And that frog looked up to her and said, "If you kiss me, I'll become a handsome prince and we can live happily ever after." Well, she knelt down and she picked up that frog and they began to talk. And they talked, and they talked, and they talked about acorns, they talked about trees, they talked about wooded lots, schools, and annoying little brothers. They talked about costume jewelry. And after a few hours, the frog reminded her, "Remember, if you kiss me, I'll become a handsome prince and we can live happily ever after." Well, the girl raised an eyebrow and a little smile, and then she picked up that frog and carefully put it in her purse and said, "No, I think I'd rather have a talking frog." Well, decisions. Urban forestry is all about decisions. It's not merely about the urban landscape, and it's not purely about the forest. If we're to live happily ever after, there has to be a balance between the urban and the forestry. To many, there is a problem with the term urban forestry. It seems like an oxymoron, or a paradox, or a contradiction of terms. So let's first consider the term landscape architecture. There aren't as many problems with this familiar term. Simply put, there's a piece of architecture, or a building, and landscape, the trees, the shrubs, the ground cover, designed to complement each other. If done right, there'll be a balance between the two. And if there's a balance between the two, there's no contradiction. Where urban forestry is a larger narrative. Urban forestry involves many buildings and many landscapes and the infrastructure that binds them together, like roads and sidewalks and storm drain systems and bridges and streetlights and utilities. If done correctly, there's a balance between the forest and the urban resources. If done properly, there's no paradox. There's no contradiction. So let's go back for a moment to the little girl and the frog. She's not going to be a little girl forever, and the frog's not going to be a frog forever. But if they're to live happily ever after, a lot of things have to happen between now and then. A lot of conversations need to take place, and a lot of preparations need to be complete. If a city is to be complete, it needs to have trees. There's a lot of similarities between trees and cities. They both start off small, as an acorn perhaps for the tree, and the city starts off as a small town. The tree and the city need the same things. Here, they need a little Florida sun, water, and space to grow. They're both designed to get big, to grow, and to build. The tree builds branches, twigs, buds, leaves, and girth on its trunk. The city builds roads, sidewalks, buildings, parking lots, streetlights, and utilities. Both those streets and the sidewalks need to be maintained and sometimes replaced. The branches and the trunks, and sometimes the entire tree, needs to be replaced. Both the tree and the city will need to have the people, the positions, the policies, and the budgets in place to properly build and grow. Let's consider a tree for a moment. It's a chemical distribution system. The tree takes energy from the sun, and it converts it to chemical energy. And it will then distribute that energy throughout the tree's trunk, its branches, its twigs, its buds, its leaves, its fruits, and its flowers. There are certain pathways that are used to distribute that chemical energy, the xylem and the phloem. And if those pathways become blocked, bad things are going to happen to the tree or parts of it. In the same way, a city builds an electrical distribution system. It distributes electrical energy throughout its trunk lines, its branches, its laterals, its buds, its leaves, its fruits, and its flowers. It just so happens that the leaves, the buds, the fruits, and the flowers of the city are our homes, our businesses, and our public places. And there are certain pathways that are used to distribute that electrical energy, the xylem and the phloem. And it's called the city right-of-ways. And if those pathways or those right-of-ways become blocked or interrupted, bad things will happen to the city or parts of it. There must always be a balance between the gray infrastructure that we build and the green infrastructure that nature provides. Let's return to the early lessons of photosynthesis. And we find that there is no better device for tackling global warming than a tree. A mechanism or device that runs on solar energy or clean energy. It pulls greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and converts it to useful carbon, converts it to wood. And we need wood. Cities need trees. We need trees. We need oxygen. We need shade. We need leaves. We need roots for soil stabilization. We need color. We need structure. We need recreation. We need pollution control. We need carbon sinks. We need inspiration. We need fruits and flowers and diversity. And we need natural pumps that can reach into the capillary space within soil and find that idle water, and through transpiration, pull that water up through the roots, through the trunk of the tree, back to the surface, out through the canopy and the leaves, and back into the air. We need sight and sound barriers. We need natural areas. We need tree-related jobs. Yet it's not enough to have trees. Our communities will need a sustainable and resilient forestry canopy. In order to have a sustainable and resilient forest canopy, we'll need a strong forest industry to include municipal foresters, utility arborists, private tree care professionals, informed public organizations, state and federal agencies. We'll need landscape architects. We'll need planners. And we need educators to make sure that we have a qualified and inspired workforce and that we have an informed public. To obtain the balance, we need a strong tree industry that can provide the solutions needed to maximize the benefits of the trees and to mitigate the risk and the hazards. So, when a city is asked to cut down trees for growth and opportunity, when we are asked to kiss a frog to create that handsome prince, we may need to pause and ask some questions and decide, is it the right time? What are the benefits that are we going to lose or replace? Have the right conversations taken place? Are the right preparations complete? Are we creating the proper balance between the gray infrastructure that we build and the green infrastructure that nature provides? And if we are, we can live happily ever after.
Hello, my name is Jessica Ireland. I'm the coordinator of Florida Project Learning Tree, and I work, live, and play in an urban forest.
I'm Anna Dooley, Executive Director of Greenscape of Jacksonville, and I am proud to say I work within the urban forest.
I'm Richard Leon, Urban Forest Manager with the City of Jacksonville, and I work in an urban forest.